My ex took me off the lease without telling me. I came home to my stuff dumped on the lawn. I walked up to my apartment after work, juggling a bag of groceries and thinking about dinner, only to see my clothes, my books, my guitar, even my toothbrush, all piled in the grass like a garage sale nobody wanted to come to. At first, I thought maybe there'd been a fire. Or a robbery. Or some kind of mistake. But no, my key didn't work, and there was a note duct taped to my amp that said, "It's over. Don't come back." No name. No explanation. Just that. I wish I could say this came out of nowhere. But the truth is, there were cracks, big ones, that I just kept stepping over. I thought we were working through our issues. Turns out, she was working on something else entirely. I don't even know what I'm asking for here. Advice. Closure. A time machine. I just need to get this out. And maybe figure out how I let it get this far. I'm 29, she's 28. We'd been living together for a little over a year, dating for almost 3. I thought we were solid. Not perfect, not movie perfect at least, but stable. She's smart, funny, a little impulsive in a way that used to charm me. And I guess that same impulsiveness is what kicked me out of my own damn apartment. We moved in together during the tail end of the pandemic, not because we were ready, but because rent in our city is a blood sport, and splitting it made sense. At the time, it felt romantic. "Let's take the plunge," she said, half laughing as we toured that overpriced 2-bedroom with its leaky faucet and weird smell near the windows. I said yes, because I always said yes to her. Technically, the lease was in both our names when we signed. At least, that's what I thought. Maybe it was. I'm still not even sure what happened legally. All I know is that my name's not on the lease anymore, and I had no idea that had changed until my stuff was on the lawn and the locks were changed. She did it while I was away for a weekend. That part one found out later. I'd gone to visit my brother out of state. 3 days. I left on a Thursday, came back Sunday night, and that was it. No warning texts. No, we need to talk. Just eviction, ex-style. I stood there for a good minute, just staring at the pile of my life sitting on the patchy grass outside her apartment building. It wasn't even neat. My work shirts were hanging out of an old IKEA bag, one of them draped over a lamp like a weird sad scarecrow. My toothbrush was still wet, which means she must have packed that last, or maybe she just dumped the cup. I don't know. I called her, of course. Straight to voicemail. I texted. "What the hell is going on? Are you okay? Is this some kind of joke?" No answer. Not even the 3 little dots of a reply. Nothing. I didn't know what to do. I sat down next to my guitar case like a guy waiting for a bus that wasn't coming. A neighbor, some guy from the 3rd floor who I barely knew, came out, saw me there, and gave me that yikes face you give someone you don't want to get involved with. I didn't blame him. Eventually, I just started moving stuff into my car. I only had 1 trip in me before the trunk was full. The rest I had to stash with a friend nearby. And while I was hauling the last of it, the new locks caught the light and I realized I wasn't going back in. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. My first real instinct was, I must have done something really bad. That's how deep the gaslighting goes. I started replaying arguments in my head like security footage. Did I forget an anniversary? Did I say something horrible and block it out? Was she cheating and felt guilty? Or did she just snap? We had problems, sure. Lately, we'd been fighting more than usual, dumb little things. I said she was always on her phone at dinner. She said I never listened. I said I was tired from work. She said I didn't make her a priority. Honestly, I thought that was just normal couple stuff. Tension, not destruction. But now, looking at how surgical this all was, the timing, the execution, the fact that she clearly planned it down to the hour I'd get back, I started realizing this wasn't impulsive at all. This was calculated. That night, I crashed on my buddy Nate's couch. I didn't sleep much. His place smells like gym socks and weed, and he snores like a truck in low gear. But it was still better than sleeping in my car next to a busted lamp and my old PS4. Around 3 a.m., I checked my email, on a hunch. Nothing from her. But I did find a notice from the leasing office from about a month ago. It was a confirmation of removal form. Removal. Like I was a mole that got scooped out. It was addressed to her email, the one I never checked, because I trusted her with the housing stuff. She used to say, "Let me handle the paperwork, you hate that crap." She wasn't wrong. I do hate that crap. But apparently, that's how I got erased. And the messed up thing? I still didn't feel angry. Not yet. Just numb. Like my body knew the anger was coming, but it had to wait for the shock to clear. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd gotten hit by a slow-moving emotional truck. You know that weird moment when your brain reboots and forgets the horrible thing that happened, just for a second, and then it comes crashing back in. That was me, sitting on Nate's sunken IKEA futon, trying to figure out if this was all a dream. Spoiler, it wasn't. I didn't go to work. I called in sick, which wasn't a total lie. I couldn't focus. Couldn't eat either. Nate offered me a frozen burrito for breakfast and I actually laughed out loud because something about it felt hilariously tragic. Like, "Hey, sorry you got ghost evicted by your girlfriend, want a soggy bean log?" By noon, I started calling around. First, the leasing office. I pretended to be chill. You ever try to sound calm while your life is unraveling? It's like trying to whisper during a house fire. "Hi, this is Jason Parker. I lived at, address, with Emma Lawrence. I just got back from a trip and, I think my lease was, changed." The lady on the phone was polite but detached, like she'd answered this call 100 times before. "Yes, it looks like Ms. Lawrence submitted a request to remove a co-tenant. That request was processed on April 2nd. "What do you mean, remove? I never signed anything." She paused. The form was submitted with digital consent from both parties. I felt the skin on my neck go cold. "Yeah, well, I didn't sign anything." Another pause. "You'll have to take that up with the leaseholder, sir. Legally, if the management accepted the documentation and you didn't contest it, we have no reason to." I hung up. So either she forged my signature or somehow used my info to click through a digital form without me knowing. Which, let's be honest, is disturbingly easy these days. I've seen her do stuff like that before. Once she returned a pair of boots under my Amazon account using my saved card, because she couldn't find hers. I brushed it off then. Dumb, I know. I texted her again. Nothing. I tried calling from Nate's phone this time. Straight to voicemail. Finally, around 5 p.m., I got a text. Just 5 words. "You'll understand eventually. I'm sorry." No punctuation, no explanation, no signature. Just that. I stared at it for 10 minutes. "You'll understand eventually." Understand what? That she dumped me like curbside trash without a single face-to-face conversation. And I'm sorry. Nah. That didn't even register as real. That felt like what people say when they back into your parked car and leave a sticky note with a fake number. Still, I didn't reply. Part of me wanted to fire off a paragraph. The other part just wanted to ghost her right back. Nate and I talked that night. He was way more pissed than I was, which was weirdly comforting. "Dude," he said between bites of leftover pizza, "you gotta blast her. Post this somewhere. This is insane. Who just ejects someone from their life like that?" "I don't know," I said. "Someone who doesn't want to deal with the mess." "No. Someone who's a manipulative coward." I shrugged. He wasn't wrong. But there was a part of me, this soft, stupid part, that still didn't want to believe she was cruel. Detached? Sure. Immature? Probably. But cruel? That didn't fit with the girl I fell in love with. I met Emma 3 years ago at a trivia night downtown. She beat me to the punch on a question about Tarantino movies, and when I playfully protested, she said, "Don't hate the player, hate your slow recall." I was hooked. We clicked fast, same music, same sense of humor, both night owls. She was messy in the way that made her apartment feel lived in, not chaotic. She loved old sitcoms and hated cilantro and used to rub my shoulders when I was stressed, whispering dumb stuff like, "You are a glorious dolphin king," just to make me laugh. So yeah. That's who I thought I was building a life with. But now I couldn't even picture that version of her. All I could see was someone cold enough to time an emotional airstrike while I was visiting my family. Over the next few days, I tried to put my life back together in tiny, half-hearted chunks. I went to work. Slept like garbage. Ate even worse. I started looking for a new place, but nothing I could afford solo without a roommate. My credit's okay, but not stellar. And I didn't want to move in with Nate permanently. Love the guy, but I need a door that actually closes. That's when I found the box. It was in one of the tote bins I'd barely looked through since the eviction. I'd been living out of a duffel bag and just left most of my stuff in Nate's garage. The bin had some kitchen crap, old towels, and wedged in the bottom, a shoebox I didn't recognize. Inside were a bunch of printed emails. Screenshots. Some of mine. Some of hers. Stuff from old arguments, DMs, even messages between her and her mom about me. And that's when it hit me, she'd been building a case. Not for a breakup. For justification. That's where I'll stop for now. I'm still processing what I found in that box. It's like she was prepping a defense for a trial I didn't know was happening. And now that I've seen some of it, I don't know what to think. Okay. So. The box. I wasn't even planning to dig into it that night. But once I opened the first envelope and saw my own name printed in the subject lines, dozens of them, I couldn't not read them. It was like finding a journal someone kept about you, except instead of being handwritten, it was methodically printed out, time-stamped, and highlighted. Emma had compiled an entire dossier. No joke, a paper trail of arguments, text chains, snippets of conversations, even Venmo receipts. One screenshot showed a text I'd sent her 6 months ago after an argument. "I don't want to keep doing this. I love you but I'm exhausted." She'd highlighted the "I'm exhausted" part in yellow. Underneath, she wrote in pen, "Emotional withdrawal pattern number 4. What the hell?" Another was a Google Doc she'd printed with the title, "Why I Need to Leave Jason, but I'm Scared Too." I almost couldn't read it. It felt invasive, like I'd stumbled across her diary. But then again, she printed it, packed it with my things, and put it in a box labeled, "Kitchen Extras." So part of me thinks she wanted me to find it. It was like she wanted me to know her side, but didn't have the guts to say it out loud. Let me give you a few lines from the doc. I typed them out later because they're burned into my brain. Jason is not a bad person. But being with him feels like dragging someone uphill while they promise they'll walk any second now. I don't want to mother him. I want a partner. I'm tired of his moods. He shuts down, and I'm left trying to fix everything. When I tell him how I feel, he listens but doesn't change. I need change, not apologies. Look, that hurt to read. But it also wasn't entirely wrong. I do shut down sometimes. I get in my own head. I've been battling on and off depression for years, and when it's bad, I isolate. Not to punish anyone, I just don't want to be a burden. But clearly, that felt like abandonment to her. Still, is that enough reason to evict someone? To ghost them out of their own life? I kept reading. There were messages between her and her mom that made me wince, stuff like, "I feel like I'm living with a ghost. He barely talks to me unless I poke him." Or, "He's not abusive, but I feel like I'm disappearing." And then, "I'm looking into getting his name off the lease. I think it's the only way I'll actually go through with it." So that's what this was. She needed an escape hatch. And instead of talking to me like an adult, or even writing me a damn letter, she made me her secret burden and then cut the cord while I was out of town. The rest of the week was a blur. I got an appointment with a tenant rights lawyer, just to see if I had any ground to stand on. Spoiler alert, not really. Because if she faked my consent digitally and the building didn't bother verifying anything, it's a civil issue at best, and a messy, expensive one. The lawyer asked, "What outcome are you looking for?" I didn't know how to answer that. I wasn't trying to move back in. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to not feel like someone's unfinished task they finally crossed off. That Friday, I finally got a message from her that wasn't vague or cryptic. It just said, "You deserved better than how I handled things." I couldn't have the conversation because I knew I'd back out. "I'm sorry. I hope someday you'll understand." I stared at that message for a long time. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I didn't understand yet. And maybe I never would. And honestly, that has to be okay. I'm realizing that now. The last few nights I've started sleeping a little better. Still on Nate's couch for the moment, but I found a studio I'm applying for, tiny, overpriced, barely enough room for a twin bed and my guitar, but it's mine. Or it will be. I've also started therapy again. First session was brutal. I told the whole story to the therapist and halfway through she said, "You're very calm about all this." And I said, "I think I'm just trying to survive it before I feel it." She nodded. "That makes sense. But you're allowed to feel it now." So yeah. That's where I'm at. The old me would have sent a long reply to Emma, trying to explain myself, apologize again, maybe even offer to talk. But the version of me who's lived on a couch for 2 weeks and cried in the car after reading a Google Doc about his flaws. That guy's learning to stop chasing closure from people who already left the room. Thanks to everyone who read this far. If you've ever been blindsided like this, I'd love to hear how you got through it. Or even if you think I deserved this, I don't know anymore. I just know I'm tired of feeling like I need to earn someone's explanation. Let me know if anyone's interested in an update. I've got a job interview coming up, and, weirdly, I think I might actually be better off. Not okay yet. But getting there. Update 1. Wow. I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. I was honestly just venting. But reading through the replies, the support, the advice, the brutal honesty, it really meant something. So thank you. To the 5K plus of you who commented or messaged or just upvoted so this wasn't buried under someone else's cheating drama, I see you. A lot of you said I was being too soft. That I let her off the hook emotionally. That I was trying too hard to empathize with someone who treated me like trash. And, yeah. Maybe you're right. Some of you asked, where's the anger? Why are you still protecting her? And I had to sit with that. Because here's the thing, I was angry. I just didn't let myself be. For years in our relationship, every time I got upset, she'd cry. And when she cried, I shut down. I became the calm one. The apologizer. The peacekeeper. That became my role. So when she left me in the most passive-aggressive way possible, my first instinct wasn't rage. It was, what did I do to make her feel like this was the only way? Which is messed up. And I'm finally starting to see that. Anyway, some updates, like I promised. I got the studio apartment. It's tiny, I'm talking single window, one closet, kitchen sink basically merges with the bathroom level of tiny, but it's mine. I signed the lease last Thursday. Brought over a few boxes from Nate's garage this weekend and slept on the floor with my jacket for a pillow like some broke college kid. It felt amazing. There's something about having a space no one can throw you out of. Not just physically, but emotionally, too. I've also been seeing the therapist weekly. She's good. Doesn't let me dodge stuff. Last session, she asked me something that hit harder than expected. Do you want to heal from this? Or do you just want to be understood? That question is still bouncing around in my head. Because yeah, I do want to be understood. I want Emma to get how much this hurt. How cold it was. How violating. But also, she might never. And if my healing depends on her validation, I'll be stuck in that purgatory forever. So I'm trying to choose healing. That means unfollowing her. I deleted her number. Removed the old photos from my home screen. I even tossed the printed emails. Not because I'm ignoring what happened, but because rereading them became its own kind of punishment. Like I was trying to prove my own unworthiness by staring at the evidence every night. Some of you asked if I'll ever confront her directly. I don't know. Part of me wants to. Just to look her in the eye and ask, why? But the bigger part of me thinks that ship sailed. If she wanted to explain, she would have. She had every chance. She chose silence. And silence is an answer, even if it's not the one I wanted. A few people also asked about legal stuff, like whether I could sue her for forging my name on the lease removal form. I did look into it more with the tenant rights lawyer. He said technically, if she used my information to fake consent, that's fraud. But proving it would be tough unless I wanted to fully pursue it. And even if I won, I wouldn't get the apartment back. Just maybe damages. I thought about it. But honestly, I don't want to spend the next 6 months locked in some court battle with my ex just to prove a point. I've spent enough time orbiting her decisions. I'm done giving her real estate in my head, literal or otherwise. In terms of work, some more good news. I got the job I interviewed for. It's a step up. Better pay, actual benefits, and, this feels huge, it comes with a relocation stipend. So, yeah. I might be moving cities. Fresh start. New place. Fewer ghosts. I'm not fully decided yet, but it feels like the universe is giving me a window. And after everything that happened, I'd be an idiot not to open it. One last thing. Someone in the comments said this, and it's been stuck in my brain all week. I screenshotted it. She didn't throw your stuff on the lawn because you were hard to love. She did it because she didn't know how to leave any other way. Maybe that's true. Or maybe she just didn't care. But either way, that was her decision. Her method. And it says more about her than it does about me. I'm not healed. Not yet. But I'm no longer checking my phone every 5 minutes waiting for a message that won't come. And that has to count for something. Thanks again, Reddit. For the tough love, the encouragement, and the brutally accurate memes. I'll post another update if anything wild happens. But for now, I'm starting to feel human again. Update 2. So I wasn't planning to post again so soon, but things took a turn. Not dramatic in a soap opera way, no one crashed a car into a lake or showed up crying in the rain. It was worse, in a slow, gut-sinking, moral gray area kind of way. Let me back up. I just started to settle into the new studio. Got a used couch off Facebook Marketplace, threw up a poster from my college days, and even bought one of those cheap but cozy lamps that makes your space feel like a real adult lives there. I was doing the whole fresh start thing. Learning how to cook actual meals for one. Listening to lo-fi playlists at night instead of overanalyzing Emma's old messages. But then, out of nowhere, her sister DM'd me. I hadn't spoken to Claire in maybe a year. We were never close, but she was always cool. Funny, blunt, didn't take any crap. She'd called Emma out once during a fight in front of me, something about how Emma always twisted stories to make herself the victim. At the time I just thought it was sister stuff. Now, well. Her message was simple. Hey. I just found out what Emma did. I don't think it's okay. Can I call you? I sat there staring at it for 10 minutes. My stomach did that awful drop thing, like missing the last step on a staircase. Against better judgment, I replied. Yeah. What's going on? She called that night. Turns out Claire had recently gone to visit Emma, she lives a few hours away now. They were drinking wine, catching up, and for whatever reason, Emma decided to tell her the whole story about how we broke up. Not just what she told people, the actual events. Claire told me Emma bragged about executing the cleanest breakup she'd ever done. Like it was some kind of tactical move. Said she knew if we had a real conversation, I'd guilt her into staying. That she had to make it cold, or he'd never let go. Claire told her that was messed up, that evicting someone without warning was cruel, not brave. And Emma apparently snapped. Said she was tired of being the bad guy in every story, and that Jason always makes people feel sorry for him. That last part hit harder than I expected. Claire apologized for calling so late, but she said something had been bothering her ever since that conversation. Emma mentioned that I'd cheated. Hold up. What? Claire said it like this. She told me you'd been flirting with a girl at work for months and that you emotionally cheated. That's why she took your name off the lease. She said she was protecting herself. I swear to God, I almost dropped the phone. I started laughing. Like, manic laughing. Because if you've read this far, you know how absurd that is. I didn't cheat. I barely had the emotional energy to text people back, let alone carry on some secret flirtation. But apparently, there was a girl I worked with, Lindsay, who once sent me a meme at midnight. I remember it. It was a dumb, "This is me at work on Monday" SpongeBob meme. Emma had seen it pop up on my lock screen and asked me about it. I told her the truth. Lindsay and I sometimes joked around. Nothing flirty. Nothing inappropriate. But Emma had gotten cold after that. Passive. Distant. Maybe that's when the idea took root. Or maybe, and this is the part one hate, maybe that was the justification she needed. Maybe it didn't matter whether it was true. She just needed a reason big enough to justify what she already planned to do. Claire told me, "I'm not taking sides. But I don't think you deserved what she did." It meant something, hearing that. It also cracked something open in me that I'd been holding shut for weeks. Because up until that call, I was trying to understand Emma. Now, I don't know if I want to. I'm not saying she's evil. But she lied, to her family, maybe to her friends, definitely to herself. She rewrote the story so she could leave clean and sleep easy. And I was the villain she needed. Which means any closure I thought I was building on mutual heartbreak. That's dead. Gone. There's no mutual anything when one person burns down the bridge and blames you for standing on it. I didn't respond to Emma's last message. But after the call with Claire, I wanted to. I wanted to text. "Hope your new life is great. Thanks for the eviction and the false cheating rumors. Very clean breakup." But I didn't. Because I'm not going to make her the star of my story again. Instead, I journaled. I talked to my therapist. I deep cleaned my studio like it had ghosts in it. And yeah, I cried again. Not because I missed her, but because I missed who I thought she was. That's the thing people don't talk about enough. When someone does you dirty, you don't just lose them. You lose the version of them you carried in your heart. And when that illusion dies, it hurts. So what now? I'm still moving forward with the new job. Still planning the move. But I also started talking to Lindsay, the girl from work. Nothing romantic. She actually reached out after seeing my name in some mutual Slack group post and asked how I was doing. I told her the truth. And she said, "You've been through hell. If you need a friend, I've got a good couch and decent beer." It was the first time I'd smiled all week. Not saying I'm ready to date again, I'm not. But it reminded me that not everyone sees me as some emotionally unavailable burden. Some people just see me. Anyway, I'll update again if anything else wild happens. For now, I'm learning to live with the silence. Not hers, mine. And honestly, it's starting to sound peaceful. Update 3. Alright, Reddit. Strap in, because this is the part of the story where things get messy in a way I really didn't see coming. Like, Lifetime movie meets courtroom drama levels of messy. I wasn't planning on posting again for a while. I thought I was on the upswing. But then the universe decided to throw one last curveball before I could pack up and start fresh. Here's what happened. So I was 3 days away from officially relocating for my new job. U-Haul rented, boxes stacked, last coffee run with Nate planned. It felt like the end credits were rolling on this whole bizarre chapter of my life. Then, I get a letter in the mail. Not an email. Not a text. A literal envelope. Handwritten. From the property management company of our old apartment. I opened it expecting some final billing statement, maybe I still owed for water or whatever. But no. It was a formal notice. A civil hearing had been scheduled regarding unauthorized lease alterations. My name was listed as a co-defendant. What the hell? I immediately called the building's office. Got transferred 3 times before someone with a clue explained, apparently, another tenant, not me, obviously, had complained about suspicious paperwork in several lease terminations, including mine. Someone flagged that multiple tenants had been removed from leases without signature verification, and the building was now covering its ass legally. Turns out, they did a full internal audit, and my case raised red flags. Because, get this, the form Emma submitted to remove me from the lease. She forged my digital signature using a free online PDF editor. Didn't even bother using a legit e-signature service. Just dragged my name into a text box, scribbled something that looked like a signature, and called it a day. And it worked. Until now. The property management company told me, in their polite, cover-your-butt legalese, that I might be called to testify. Not because I did anything wrong, but because I was technically involved in a lease alteration that's now under scrutiny. I hung up the phone shaking. Not from fear, but from rage. She forged my name. She lied about cheating. She turned me into the villain of her breakup story. And now, she might actually face consequences, not because of me, but because she pulled this stunt one too many times. I sat with that for a long time. And then, for the first time since this all started, I called a lawyer not to ask what could happen, but what should. We talked for 2 hours. I explained everything. The eviction. The forged form. The rumors she spread about me cheating. The documents Claire told me about. And the lawyer looked at me, over Zoom, and said, "I'm going to ask you a hard question. Do you want to be done with this, or do you want justice?" I didn't answer right away. Because part of me still hates the idea of being that guy. The vengeful ex. The one who drags things into court and airs dirty laundry. But then again, Emma made her choices. She didn't just leave, she manipulated, fabricated, and rewrote reality to suit her version of events. She weaponized my silence. And I let her, because I didn't want to be too much. Well, screw that. I told the lawyer. I wanted to be on the record that I didn't do anything wrong. And if that means she gets held accountable for lying, so be it. So yeah. I agreed to testify. I signed a statement confirming I never authorized my name removal. I provided email and text evidence showing I was out of town when the change happened. The lawyer said that might be enough for the property management to pursue further action, possibly fraud charges, or at least voiding the removal record. Now here's where it gets even more surreal. 3 days after I submitted my statement, I got a message. From Emma. Not a call. Not a letter. Just a text, the first one since her "hope you understand someday" apology. It said, "I know you're testifying. Please don't do this. You're not that kind of person." I stared at it for a solid minute. And then another one came. I panicked. I wasn't thinking straight. I just needed to get out. I didn't mean for it to go this far. And finally, "Please don't ruin my life over one mistake." That one got me. Because for weeks, months even, my life felt ruined. And no one was begging me for mercy. No one was stepping in to say, "Hey, Jason's a good guy. Let's not leave his stuff on the lawn like yesterday's trash." But now that she might have consequences, now I'm supposed to be the better person. I didn't respond. Not out of coldness, but out of self-preservation. I took a screenshot. Sent it to my lawyer. Then I blocked her. And you know what? It didn't feel petty. It felt clean. For once, I wasn't the one sitting with the emotional aftermath while she went off and rewrote history. A few of you messaged me last time saying, "Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself." Well, consider this me finally doing it. The hearing's in a few weeks. I'll be living in the new city by then. Hopefully in a space with actual sunlight and neighbors who don't slam doors at 2 a.m. I don't know what'll happen to Emma. Maybe she'll get a slap on the wrist. Maybe nothing at all. But I do know that I've stopped waiting for closure from her. I don't need her to explain, or apologize, or spin the story one more time. I just need peace. And I think, slowly but surely, I'm finding it. Final update. Hey, Reddit. This will be the last update. I mean it this time. No more twists. No more drop-ins from the past. Just the last page of a story I didn't ask to be in, but one I'm finally closing. The hearing happened last week. It was low-key, not some high-drama court showdown. No TV judges or gasps from the gallery. Just a bland office, a mediator, 2 lawyers, and a few folding chairs that creaked every time someone shifted in their seat. I showed up in a button-down that still had dry cleaner creases and tried not to sweat through it. My lawyer sat beside me, calm and competent in the way that only someone with 30 years of watching people unravel across a conference table can be. Emma was there, too. I hadn't seen her since the day I came home to my life on the lawn. She looked small. Not physically. Just deflated. Like she'd finally run out of momentum. She couldn't look at me. Not once. Her lawyer did most of the talking. Tried to frame the lease removal as a miscommunication, that she believed she had my consent, that there was no intent to deceive. They actually used the phrase, an unfortunate administrative shortcut. My lawyer calmly presented the timeline. My travel receipts. The email chain. The screenshots. It was quiet and factual and devastating. At one point, the mediator turned to me and asked, "Did you ever give verbal or written consent to be removed from the lease?" I looked right at him and said, "No." And I came home to find my life on the grass because of it. That was it. No tears. No shaking. Just the truth, laid out plain. The outcome. The property management company decided not to pursue criminal fraud charges, probably because it would have been a bigger mess than it was worth, but they did place a formal misconduct note on Emma's tenant record, which means any future landlords will see a flagged history. She might get denied rental applications for a while. Not ruined. But not invisible either. Her lawyer tried to negotiate to have it removed in exchange for an apology. Mine said, "That's not how apologies work." And that was that. Afterward, as I walked out into the parking lot, Emma followed a few steps behind. I could hear her breathing, that weird shallow breath people get when they're about to say something hard. I braced myself. But she didn't speak. She just stood there, halfway between her car and mine, arms crossed like a shield, eyes locked on the pavement. Then she said, barely audible, "I really did love you." I just didn't know how to leave. I didn't say anything. Not because I didn't have words, believe me, I had so many words. But because I realized something right then, standing under the dull gray sky. None of them mattered anymore. So I nodded. Not out of agreement, but acknowledgement. Then I got in my car and drove away. No music. No rear-view glances. Just silence, and this sense of finality I hadn't felt in months. That was a week ago. I'm in the new city now. My apartment's nothing fancy, but it gets golden light in the afternoons and the walls don't carry the weight of old arguments. I put together furniture without cursing much. Bought real groceries. Hell, I even signed up for a climbing gym. Lindsay, yeah, that Lindsay, has become a good friend. We get tacos once a week and joke about work drama. It's not romantic. It doesn't need to be. It's just nice to laugh again without feeling like I'm betraying some ghost. Therapy is still ongoing. Healing isn't linear. Some nights, I still wake up tense, heart racing, thinking I missed something, a sign, a message, a final piece of the puzzle. But those nights are getting rarer. And when they come, I remind myself. It wasn't my job to be the bigger person every time. It wasn't my failure that she left the way she did. And it damn sure wasn't love if it came with an eviction notice. A lot of you stuck with me through this whole messy journey. You gave advice, tough love, sympathy, memes, and the occasional, bro, sue her into oblivion. And honestly, you helped more than you know. So here's what I'll leave you with. If someone shows you they're willing to hurt you to avoid being uncomfortable, believe them. If you're always the one de-escalating, softening, making peace at the cost of your own dignity, that's not love. That's performance art for someone else's ego. And if you ever come home to find your life on the lawn, don't pick up the pieces and wonder what you did wrong. Stand up, brush off the dirt, and walk away. You deserve a door that opens with a key you still own. Thanks, Reddit. I'm out.